Hello everyone, this is Philip Kowalski, and this is part 2 of my series, The 23 Most Important Formulas in Microsoft Excel, SUMIF and SUMIFS. Alright everybody, today I'm going to give you something like a double feature. We will talk about SUMIF and SUMIFS, and actually the nature of this function is that it sums up ranges depending on certain conditions. And the difference between SUMIF and SUMIFS is that within SUMIF or the SUMIF function you can apply one condition or one criteria, as Excel calls it, and within SUMIFS you can apply multiple criteria. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So you see my example file here, and we have something like a sales table here where we have colors of a certain product. This could be clothes or anything. We can see the sales for those products, and we can see the sales persons in here. Then within these blue cells we have selections where we can select where we can select the color, and where we also can select the salesperson. And if you have seen my offset tutorial, which is part 1 of the series yesterday, I defined those as names here in this list tab. So going to the name manager, you can see I have colors, which is here, see the marching ants, and I have salespersons, which is here. You can see the marching ants. And in addition, I have, for the selections, I have made 2 additional names, select color and select salesperson. Okay, so let's start with SUMIF. Actually, SUMIF has 3 arguments to the function, and I just enter it. SUMIF, let's say we would like to see what are the sales for color yellow. So we start with SUMIF, type it in. The range is the range where we want to check for the condition. So that in this case would be here, column D. So we select it. As usually, I fix it, pressing the F4 key. Then the second argument is the criteria that we'd like to check for. And as I have given this specific criteria, this should be the criteria here, the cell in H11, the color selection, I have given this a name, so I can simply press F3 and select the cell color name reference. So we use this, makes our function a little bit more readable. And finally, that's the third argument to this function, is the range I would like to sum. You can leave that out, it's optional. However, I never do that. I always use it as I show here in this example. So that would be the range that we would like to sum. Again, fix it with cell reference, closing parentheses, and enter. And it gives us 698 in sales for yellow. So maybe let's do a little check, and we use the status bar here where the sum should apply usually. So let's see, where do we have yellow? This cell, holding down the control key while clicking the cells gives us an unconcatenated selection. So we have this one, we have this one here below, and we have this one, and it should be all these. Let's mark them in yellow like this, and as you can see, 698, 698. We do the same for the salesperson, just to reiterate what we have just learned. Okay, so again, it's SUMIF, oops, one bracket. The range that we would like to check for is this one. Fix it with cell reference, F4, semicolon. The criteria we'd like to check for is the salesperson, and the sum range that we'd like to do is the sales itself. Fix it with F4, closing parentheses. There we have it. They now sold 1995 in this. So let's check maybe for another salesperson. Let's check for John. Oh, John had a pretty bad month, it looks like, because he only has one sale, $104. This one here. because there's no other John in here. So this is the first part of this function or function set. The second part, or the stepsister, so to say, is the SUMIFS function. And the SUMIFS function actually allows me to enter multiple criteria. So what we'd like to do is go back to Dana here. Sorry. What we'd like to do is ask Excel what have been the sales for Dana as a salesperson with the color yellow. So how much yellow did Dana sell? That's the question here. So for this we use SUMIFS. And you can see here in the explanation in the Excel help or whatever you call it, it adds the cells specified by a given set of conditions or criteria. So here's multiple. So first of all here, the arguments are a little bit, SUMIFS. The arguments are a little bit different. First comes the sum range and then come the criteria sets. So SUMIFS, the sum range that we'd like to do, it always has to be the same for all criteria, and that only makes sense. So that will be the sales here. Fix it with F4, semicolon. And one sentence as always, I'm using a European environment in Microsoft Excel. If you're watching this video from the US, you may replace semicolon with comma because the nomenclature in Microsoft Excel in the US version is simply different. Nevertheless, I use semicolon. So the criteria range, here's the first criteria we'd like to check for is the color. So the criteria range for this one would be this. For the color would be this here. Again, fix it with F4. And then comes the criteria one, which is what do we want to check for in this range. And that's this one here. And you see, if I click the cell, Excel automatically selects the named range or name. Okay, and the second criteria range will be salesperson. Again, fix it with F4. And the second criteria will be here, Dana, salesperson. So now we close the brackets, press enter, and we can see that Dana has sold 147 in yellow, and that is this single thing here. This single data set, so to say. No more yellow for Dana, and you can check it here. Throughout, there is no more yellow for Dana. Let's see maybe what Dana, and you can see also the changes here. If we change it back to blue, change it to something different, so to blue, for example, this number stays the same. But you can see that Dana has sold a little bit more in blue, like this one here. And where else do we have her? Dana in blue, so to say. These ones here. And if we just check it here below, 684, and in the status bar 684. That sums up my little tutorial on part 2 of the 23 most important Excel functions, the SUMIF and SUMIFS formula. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. If you'd like to download the example workbook that you can see here on my screen, please go to my blog, www.excelblog.net, and you can download it there. So far, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.